Hey YouTube, welcome to Horticulture and Homes. I have a excess of sweet potatoes and I'm dehydrating, so I thought I would bring you along for the ride. So I started with my sweet potatoes, which I baked, and then that can just be peeled. And then if I have a little bit of caramelization, I leave it on, but here on the bottom there's just a little bit too much for my liking. I'm going to pull that off. Okay, then I'm going to take a portion of this, and I have just a piece of plastic wrap. I'm going to fold that over, just like you were going to pound out a chicken breast. Just do that with my sweet potato. And I've seen on the internet where you can do this using wax paper, but I think the wax paper falls apart too easily. So I can open that up and see I have these dark portions from the caramelization, and that doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, you can remove it before you flatten the potato. And then on my dehydrator, I've used my screens and some of the fruit leather trays. So I've used all of my screens so far, so now I'm using a fruit leather. And I mash that out so that it's between 1/4 and 1/8 of an inch thick. And I can just lay that onto the tray, and it comes right off. Okay, there's a little bit in the middle there that I didn't want. So I just filled my tray up, and then I'll be ready to dehydrate once I get this completely full.
Here I'm using my meat slicer to slice my sweet potatoes. These are raw sweet potatoes, and once I have them sliced, if I choose to blanch them, I can do that, or I can leave them raw and dehydrate them either way. If you choose to eat the sweet potatoes from a dehydrated state, they're going to taste best if you go ahead and blanch those sweet potatoes right after you slice them. It's going to bring out some of the sweetness.
Alright, my sliced sweet potatoes are now dry, and when I put those on the dehydrator, I let that go for about 3 hours at about 125, 135 degrees. And then I went back and I checked it, and everything had started to shrink. So then I went ahead and took a couple of the trays out and put the sweet potatoes all together on a fewer number of racks. And then I took my free racks and filled those up again so that I constantly kept my dehydrator going, because I had a lot of chips to do. So as they shrunk, I just would combine them, and I also moved the trays around a little bit. But I check on them about every 3 hours. So these are dry. These were sliced from the raw state and dried that way. My baked sweet potatoes that I skinned, have those right here. And I just peeled all of that up off of the trays. So So it peels up fairly easy. If you have something that kind of wants to stick on you, if you put it in the dehydrator for a few minutes to let it get just a little bit warm, it'll peel up pretty quick. So now remember, all this dark color isn't from the sweet potatoes being the dehydrator. That's where, when I baked the sweet potatoes, that was caramelization that was on the bottom between the sweet potato and the baking pan. And I left that caramelization on there because that equals flavor. Now this is a lot like a fruit leather. You could dry this until it is totally crisp, or you could go ahead and bag it up like this. Okay, this is how I stored the sweet potatoes that I had baked, and then I smashed those down, and they looked like a fruit leather when they were done dehydrating. I dehydrated most of those until they were crisp and I could break them apart, and that allows me to store them more easily. So here I wound up with a couple of half-gallon jars from all of those that I dehydrated, and I'm not sure how many pounds that was, but I did fill up a tin tray. Actually, I more than filled up my tin tray Nesco dehydrator. I believe I might have had 12 or 14 trays. Okay, so I just keep that vacuum sealed. It's been about a month now since I last did that, and you can see just how crisp these are. I did not wind up putting an oxygen absorber in here. Typically I would have on something like this where you might have some residual moisture. I was in a hurry getting ready for graduation, and I didn't wind up doing that, and these are still just fine. So I always keep an item out on my pantry shelf where I can get to it and use it all the time, and then the others I store it in a more long-term storage area. The sliced sweet potatoes that I dehydrated from the raw state, I went ahead and put those into Mylar bags and vacuum sealed them, or sealed those Mylar bags up. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd be happy to try and answer those for you. Talk to you later.